All right, today we're looking at two new pieces of hardware I got. The Elgato face cam. Was using a little Logitech webcam before. And also I had an old Canon I was using. The one was working great. This face cam works really well. Also, I have this Elgato Wave 3 mic. Had that for a couple months now, and that's worked really well. And also the Bear Dynamics headset I got 3 months ago also to get rid of my standard gaming headset. Had a Razer headset with a built-in mic, and it just really never sounded right, and the game sounds never sounded right with this new Bear Dynamics and the Wave 3. The sound of the games, especially I play a lot of Warzone and Vanguard now, sounds great. Also, this new mic really sounds great. Plus, I've been able to do a lot of adjustments on it. And what I've noticed, though, when I first set everything up, I was running the NVIDIA Broadcast Studio along with OBS to do the streaming and create videos. And between the two, they're taking up a lot of the GPU power. And what I've realized was I wanted to set up a second system to stream on. I had an older system here. It was a 4-core older Intel system. It still runs good, but I also had a GTX 1070 in there. I tried to install NVIDIA Broadcast on that system because it was an older video card. It would install. I needed to have at least a 20 series or a 30 series card on the system. So what I was using NVIDIA Broadcast was you can turn on noise suppression there, and you can also turn on the background removal through the Broadcast Studio. But what I was noticing that would add on to what OBS was taking up as far as not just CPU but GPU. And between having those two running and playing on the same computer, my gaming computer, Warzone was going from 180 frames down to 100 frames, sometimes under 100 frames. So I was losing almost half my frame rate by gaming and streaming on the same system. But looking at upgrading my older system as a streaming system, I'd also need not only the video card, but I also need a capture card. And since I'm on a 1440p monitor, I need probably at least a 2K or that new 4K capture card from Elgato, which is another 300 something bucks. So it'd be well over $1,000 to upgrade the old system. And then I'm not even sure with the old 4-core CPU to even have enough horsepower. So what I'm doing now is looking for any way I can to save GPU cycles on this gaming system so I can do both streaming and gaming on the same system, see how that works out. I do have older Core i9-7900X. This is Intel's first 10-core system. It's worked great for me. What I did a year ago is I delidded it because it was running extremely hot. By doing that, I got the temperatures way down, and I was able to overclock it to 4.6 gigahertz on all 10 cores. So all 10 cores are running at 4.6 gigahertz. Since doing that, I've never had any issues with CPU. I've had plenty of CPU. I've never really gone over 50% of CPUs running Warzone, Vanguard, Black Ops, and really running Warzone, Black Ops, Vanguard now with OBS streaming. Never had an issue. But what I did notice I try to introduce want to do the noise suppression, also with OBS, that's using the NVENC encoder, so that's taking up so much CPU or GPU, also with OBS. What I've tried to do now is they have the new, bring up NVIDIA has these new effects that you can get to download the software. I've downloaded the audio effects, and this works with OBS, and it puts right into OBS the noise suppression, so I don't have to do it in NVIDIA Broadcast. And then now with StreamFX, which I'm running through OBS as an add-in, they also have the video effects to do the green screen. So that's a plug-in to OBS now. So now I don't run broadcast at all. And I have both plugins for audio and video directly in OBS, and that seemed to also have helped because I didn't see my GPU jump up that much. It's still using this much because I'm using the NVENC encoder on my settings and using OBS Studio to do the encoding and streaming. But I only saw this jump up about 4 or 5%. Now I do have, take a look at my camera settings right now for the Elgato face cam. The filter I'm running is the NVIDIA green screen. That's why I named it, but it's called virtual green screen, and that got installed when I upgraded the Stream FX and also installed the NVIDIA component for that video graphics or video component that gave us ability to do the green screen, and that removes the background. Now there's two things I've been trying out is if we look at the performance here, I have this on performance mode. If I set it to quality mode, you'll see it will clean up and won't be so going in and out of the background here. But it also jumped up 3 to 4% on the GPU usage. Right now I'm seeing if I can live with the performance setting. It doesn't quite remove, it has this kind of edge here that's not quite as nice as the quality, but you can see it jumped down to 4% in GPU usage. So my goal here is to reduce the amount of GPU usage I'm seeing, because right now in Warzone, when I'm playing Warzone, I usually get 170, 180 frames a second. But when I have OBS running, and when I had OBS running with NVIDIA Broadcast, and NVIDIA Broadcast was running at 20% too, that I would drop my frame rate from 170, 180 down to 190. So I was almost losing half my frame rate by using my gaming computer to also do my streaming. So right now I'm trying to see what I can do to keep this number around 25%, because I know around 25%, when this is running, I'm losing probably from going from 180 down to 140. And I really want to keep it above 120. Anything above 120 will work for me. I don't really see that much of a difference between 120 and 180. I'm not a professional gamer, so I don't think that makes a big difference, but I want to also have the benefits of removing the background, and also take a look at my wavelength filters. Also I have that noise suppression, so I don't know if we could turn off the noise suppression. Let's see if we can hear the background. Probably will hear my, oh, you know what, I have the gate turned on. Let's turn off the gate. I'm probably going to hear, if I'm quiet here, you'll hear the fans on my computer running. They are a little loud right now because I'm running everything, got everything turned on. So I think you can barely hear my fans. That's originally I had a noise gate in here I had the noise gate set at 32, minus 32. So anything below minus 32 would be cut off. But really with the noise suppression, I don't really need the noise gate. The NVIDIA noise compression. Now, if I change this to the RN noise, I would see this GPU drop down further, but this RN noise isn't quite as good as NVIDIA, so I'm still going to use NVIDIA. We're also running on the Wave a EQ, which is a standard EQ, boosting some of the lows, dropping down some of the mid, so it's not as muddy, and then boosting some of the highs. And then on everything, I had this compressor running, but it really made my voice sound too compressed. I got to play with these settings. I read that 4:1 was optimal, but I think I might go down to 2:1. But on everything also, we have a limiter. We also limit threshold at -3, so nothing, -1, -2. That's going to be super loud. So we're trying to limit this so we don't blow out anyone's, especially if on a headset, on any loud noises. All my voice channels have a limiter on it to make sure that we're not going below -3, so we don't have super loud sounds in the stream. Now, what we have also is on the new Wavelink 1.4 software to introduce audio effects. And I've done a lot of reading on this or watching YouTube videos. I've installed a bunch of suggested VST plugins. And what I've come up with in here is I've set up noise suppression, and this is that RN noise, and there isn't really any type of setting it. It just you install it and it works. Then I did the same thing with the Reaper EQ. This one I went a little bit more, reading through and looking at my voice, that I really needed to boost my low part of my voice. I needed to cut out some of the middle part because it was sounding kind of muddy, and then I really needed to boost up the high part of my voice. So in this one, I created 10 bands because I really was trying to shape it. If you see the yellow line here, to get my voice to match this sort of curve and bring it up where I needed to bring it up, and that seems to work pretty well. Close all that. And then also we have, in here I have the compressor. This is a different compressor than what OBS had, although I did have this same plugin. But here we, based on what I could read on this, I set the threshold about 21, minus 21. These I've been playing around with. I've set these as kind of standards. I played around with these down to 2 milliseconds, down to 60. But when I turn on the classic attack and auto release, that seemed to work really well. And you can see that it's compressing any of the highs sounds. You can see it starts compressing. And then I did a little bit of a bump on the output because it's once this compression was compressing the highs, it was starting to lose some of the voice loudness. So I had to do a little bit of this wet, which is really just a gain, 1.5 gain on here. Everything else is pretty much standard. And this actually sounds pretty good now. And then trying this out, this is a de-esser. I notice in my voice I do have sometimes a lot of S sounds, and that you can see in here it's clipping the S sounds. And this one is set to, I was reading or looking at some videos, and about minus 35 on the processing. Want to drop it there. Sharpness at minus 7, and then intensity at 7.1. This seems to work really well. You can see where I'm clipping some of the S's and not getting that hiss sound. That's worked really well. Then I have this loud max, which is really just a limiter. So I have it at 3.1. I don't want anything above 3.1. And the threshold I have at 2.8. So it kind of kicks in here, but it will drop it between 3.1 and minus 2.8. That way I'm limiting my output, so I don't really necessarily need to do it in OBS too. So on the OBS side, now I've been talking through the Wave 3 mic on OBS, and I've been using the VSTs and the various filters on OBS, but now I'm going to turn off the Wave 3 mic, or actually going to mute it, and I'm going to turn on the Wave FX mic, which is the output from this mic with all the filters applied. Get some water. So what I'm going to do now is mute the Wave 3 mic, which I'm just taking this output straight into OBS. Then on the OBS side, I'm applying the filters. So on this side, I'm just applying these filters. I'm going to mute this. Then I unmuted the Wave 3 FX that I have set up. Let me pull this over. I have 2 screens here. So This is what I'm pulling over is the Wavelink microphone FX. So that's the output of the Wavelink mic with the filters applied into OBS. So on the OBS side, I don't have any filters applied at all on the Wave FX mic output. So I'm allowing that all to be done in the Wavelink software. And these are the filters that are applied. So now you should hear a difference in my voice between what we were doing in OBS and now the effects I'm applying in Wavelink. And actually in Wavelink, I'm applying a few more, like I have the compressor turned on and the de-esser, which I didn't have turned on OBS. And we should see there is a difference. What I'm going to try now is I'm going to turn off the noise suppression because I don't have a gate here. And we'll see if we hear the background noise. This one is actually, there is no, let's see if I can find it here. Oh, it's this one. It's just called noise suppression. It's the one that was on the Wavelink website. It's the RN noise suppression. And there is no interface for it. It's just on. There's no configuration. So if I turn that off, let's see if we can hear the background noise because my computer fans are pretty loud right now. So you might be hearing some of the background noise. Turn that back on. Then on the equalizer, this is what it's set at. I'm going to go in here and turn that off and see what it sounds like with it off. So this is my voice with it, the equalizer turned off, and this is my voice with it turned on. Now there, you can hear a difference with the compressor. The compressor is compressing that upper end so that louds don't get super loud and kind of pulls it back in. This is my voice with the compressor turned off. This is my voice with the compressor turned on. This is it turned off, no compressor. This is it with the compressor turned on. I don't know if you hear the difference. The S with a de-esser. This is with it off. The de-esser is off. This is with a de-esser on. I don't think the limiter is going to make much of a difference right now because I don't think we're getting too high up there on the clipping. I don't have any filters on the OBS side, so really need to have this on so we're not going over the -3 on the output. And this is with it off, and this is with it on. So that's with the limiter on, that's with the limiter off. I'm not really seeing on, I'm looking at the meters on OBS. I'm not really seeing too much of a difference, but I do see it clipping at -3. Now what I'm going to do is turn everything off. Let's see how the voice sounds. That's got no audio effects at all. Let's see, I have a little my favorite saying from one of the books I read. I must not fear. Fear is a mind killer. Fear is the little death that brings total obliteration. I will face my fear or permit it to pass over me and through me. And when it has gone past, I will turn the inner eye to see its path. Where the fear is gone, there will be nothing, only I will remain. Let's see if anyone can guess where that's from. That's with no audio effects on. I'm going to turn all the audio effects back on and read the same thing. Okay, that's all the audio effects are back on. I must not fear. Fear is a mind killer. Fear is a little death that brings total obliteration. I will face my fear, or permit it to pass over me and through me. And when it has gone past, I will turn the inner eye to see its path. Where the fear is gone, there will be nothing, only I will remain. Okay, so that's a test of the audio effects coming directly from the Wavelink software what I'm going to do is turn off the wavelength mic, FX mic, and just go back to the standard Wave 3 mic with the OBS filters and see what the difference is in my voice. Okay, I've now turned back on the Wave 3 mic in OBS with only using OBS filters. So there should be a difference in my voice sound. I'll read the same little poem. I must not fear. Fear is the mind killer. Fear is a little death that brings total obliteration. I will face my fear. I will permit it to pass over me and through me, and when it has gone past, I will turn the inner eye to see its path. Where the fear is gone, there will be nothing, only I will remain. Probably not the best patches to test S's, but we'll see what the differences are. The other part I want to still test is looking at the camera here. I'm going to turn it to performance. So on the green screen, I'm going to turn performance on, or quality on. I had it on performance. You can see the camera is a little bit better. It's not cutting out so much of my, it's not cutting out so much of the quality cuts out a lot of the background and makes it really smooth on the shape. Whereas the performance, you could see that some of the background pops in now and then. But we can see I went from 26, 27 up to 30 on the GPU. So it does take up more GPU when we're running this camera performance, or the quality setting as opposed to the performance setting. I'm going to go back over to turn off the original Wave 3, and I put back on the Wave FX. And we'll see how that sounds. So if this works, I think it's going to be really nice to have all the effects in the Wavelength software. The benefit of this is I've already done this in Vanguard and Warzone, but I go in there and for the chat mic, I set it to the Wave FX mic, and I get all this, the noise suppression and the equalization and the compression of my voice all gets put into the game. So now my chat's voice is really clean and has all these effects applied to it. So it sounds really good. And I won't need to do that in OBS, but then I can also put this into the Discord server. So I would have all my audio effects here. That was a problem that I was seeing where I had my voice going to OBS and I was cleaning it up for the stream, but then my voice without the noise suppression and everything was going into the game, into the chat and Discord, and it wasn't as good as quality. Plus I have a lot of background noise with the fans going on the computer. So this is really an excellent addition to the Wavelength software. I can get it out of OBS, and now everywhere I send my mic to Discord, to the game, and to OBS, it'll have my sound effects already applied to it. Won't have to do it in OBS. And I'm also going to turn off the NVIDIA plugin in OBS too and see if that also saves me some GPU horsepower. And so now we can see the camera still looking good. But what I'm seeing is, you know, the quality is there, but I don't know if it's worth the 4 to 5% on GPU usage. Let's go back and turn that off. See if we see the same. So we're at 30.9, 29 roughly. So if we switch this to performance, you can see it instantly drops. It's got to stabilize now, but it went from 29, 30, 31, usually bouncing 26, 27. So you get 3% back during this performance. But we do lose some of the background seems to pop through, like when I move my head. But I think we can live with that. And then once I remove the NVIDIA plugin for the voice on OBS, I'm trying to hopefully get this down to closer to 20% usage, which should be acceptable for OBS with this is, doing the NVENC encoding right now to video and also to stream. If I can get this down around 25% or less, I think my frame rate in Warzone is going to be probably stabilized around 130 to 140 frames. So I think anything over 120 is workable. I don't really see the difference between 120, 130 and the 180 I normally get. But I was seeing when I had everything turned on and video broadcasts running and when I was dropping under 100 frames that I can notice it in the game. So really want to keep this around 25% GPU usage and keep the frame rate up above 120 in Warzone. So that's what we're trying to do, is squeeze out anywhere we can to make sure this GPU usage is reduced. And this would be using my same gaming computer as my streaming computer too. At this point, I don't really have a choice. I don't want to spend another $1,000 for a video card and capture card on my streaming system to be able to run this additional software. And right now we're ending up on still having the Wave FX voice. Looks like it's sounding pretty good. From what I can hear, we'll play back the video and see how that sounds. I think that'll be it for now.